Hello everyone. Today we're going to make a fraction quilt. Isn't that exciting? What you're going to need is a pen or a pencil, 3 sheets of paper, some crayons, some glue, or some tape if that's what you have. And that's it. Let's get started. Hey everyone. Let's get started on our first step of our fraction quilt. First thing is grab one piece of paper. You're going to take this paper, fold it into 4 equal squares. That's right, I said 4 equal squares. Once you folded your paper into 4 equal squares, cut the squares out so they're all separated. This might be a little tricky, so if you need some help, ask your family member, an older family member, to help you cut the paper into 4 equal squares. Remember, a square has 4 sides that are the same length, so you might have a little bit of extra paper left over. You can just set that to the side. All right, when you're done cutting your paper into 4 equal squares, come on back and we'll get ready for step number 2. Step 1, fold one corner of your paper to the opposite edge so the sides are all even. Step 2, cut off the extra part. Step 3, open up your paper so it's one big square. Step 4, fold your paper hot dog bun style. Step 5, fold your paper again so it's in 4 equal pieces. Step 6, open up your paper so you can see all 4 equal squares. Step 7, cut your paper into 4 equal squares. Way to go! Welcome back. I cut my piece of paper into 4 equal squares. Here they are. Now for the next step. We need to fold each of these 4 equal squares into different equal parts. Remember, equal means the same. So I'm going to put different ways you can fold your squares into equal parts up here on the screen, and then you can try your best to fold them into those equal parts. You can choose any one you want to try. If you make a mistake, no big deal. Just try again. Here are some examples of your pieces of paper folded into equal parts. Notice that each part is the same size as all the other parts on the whole piece of paper. Can you fold your pieces into equal parts just like these? If you need some help, ask an adult to help you. When you're finished, come back to the video, click play, and we'll move on to the next part of our fraction quilt. You'll do a great job. Woo-wee, that was tough. I made some mistakes and had to fix them. Now, you can take your squares that you broke into equal parts and color in each equal part. The only rule is each equal part has to be one color. I'll put some examples up on the screen and you can get started. Let me know how it goes. All right, now it's time to color in our fraction pieces. Here are some examples of ways you could color in your fraction pieces. Notice that each part is one color. That's going to help us later when we find some fractions. Can you color your pieces in? I bet you can. Again, if you need some help, ask an adult around you. When you're finished, come back to the video, click play, and we'll do the next step of our fraction quilt. All right, I hope you had fun coloring in all of your fraction pieces. The next step is to glue them on to your fraction quilt. I'm going to post my example of how I glued mine onto my fraction quilt, and then you can do it your way. All right, meet me back here when you're finished gluing your pieces onto your fraction quilt. Wow, everyone, great work! As you can see, I glued my fraction pieces onto my fraction quilt. And then I put my label at the top, nice and neat. Can you make your fraction quilt now? I bet you can. Can't wait to see it. Now it's time to find fractions on our fraction quilt. Come with me to find the different fractions on my quilt, and then you can find them on yours. Let's do this. Okay, so now it's time to find some fractions on our fraction quilt. We'll focus on this part of our fraction quilt first. The first thing you're going to want to do is find how many pieces it took to make the whole. So for this fraction, our whole is this square of the quilt, and we broke it into 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. So our whole will be 4. Then we wanted to find out what part of the whole do we want to describe for our fraction. So I really only want to talk about this pink part right here. This pink part is 1 out of the 4 pieces. So if I was going to write a fraction, I would write it like this. First, I need a text box. Put that right here. And I would write my fraction like this. Oh, let me make the font bigger so it's easier to see. The pink is 1 over 4. 1/4 describes the pink part. All right, let's find one more fraction before you find your own fractions on your fraction quilt. This time, I want to look at this part of my fraction quilt down here. So I'm going to get a square to help me remember which fraction I'm working with. So let me put a square here. All right, now I need to make a see-through, which I can do right here, and I'll make it transparent. All right, now I know I'm talking about this part of my fraction quilt. And this part we will consider the whole for this fraction. So the first thing I need to know is how many pieces did it take to make the whole? And I'm going to count by 2s because I know that each of the smaller squares in here are made up of 2 triangles. So 2, 4, 6, 8. So I know that my whole is going to be 8 for this fraction. So let me remember that. We're writing down my 8. Well, let me make it a little bit bigger over here. All right, and I can make that a little thicker. Perfect. Now all I really want to describe out of this fraction are the light blue pieces. So I need to find out how many light blue pieces are there in my fraction. Let me see here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so my top number of my fraction, or my numerator, will be 4. 4 light blue pieces out of 8 total pieces. So my fraction is 4/8. Now, I found 2 different fractions on my fraction quilt, but I could find all kinds of fractions. I could find some in here, I could find some in here, and there's even more than one fraction in each one. So for example, you might count the total dark blue pieces out of this whole fraction. I wonder how many fractions you can find. Hey everyone, great work today. Wasn't that fun to make a fraction quilt? Once you're finished writing down all the fractions that you found, you can take a picture of the fraction quilt and all of the fractions that you found and text the picture to this number or email it to this email address on the screen right here. Can't wait to see what you did. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.